Project Star is looking to become Jamaica's first social IPO. Project Star is a social and economic development initiative created by the private sector organization of Jamaica in partnership with the Jamaica Constabulary Force. The company is looking to list on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. The group is offering 100 million shares for sale for $1 each. The smallest quantity you can buy is 500. The offer is set to open on June 22, 2023 and is scheduled to close on August 8, 2023. But it could close early. As a social IPO, investors will not receive monetary gain from investing. However, the group said it will be an investment in the welfare and development of marginalized communities and by extension the Jamaican society. Applications to the social IPO are being accepted through all licensed securities brokers.
Very, very interesting. So let's get right to it. Keith Duncan is co-chair of Project Star. Safri Brown is project director of Project Star, and Julian Mayer is chair of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. So we have all of them on with us right now. Hi, Keith, Safri, hi. Julian, how are you doing?
All is well.
Hello. All right, and I know this is very, very near and dear to all of you. We've been hearing about the social stock exchange. Some people, even me, a little bit shaky about how it works and so on. But Keith, I want to actually start with you to find out, what is the social, well, first of all, what is Project Star?
Okay, so Project Star is a social and economic community transformation project that is focused on communities that have been underinvested over the years, that are prone to violence and vulnerability in these communities, where the social outcomes would be fairly weak in these communities. Educational outcomes are fairly weak. Unemployment is probably very high is much higher than the national average, ranging in like 20 to 40% in these communities. There is infrastructure maybe in some communities may be in a state of deterioration, and the crime levels would be significantly probably higher than the national average. And the national average, as we know, is very high in Jamaica, where crime is at the level of about 55 per 100,000. We're in the top 5 in the world. However, in these some communities, you may have special police and military operations, like zones of special operations in some areas within these communities, and the crime levels will be low. However, what we know for sure is that the social outcomes are quite poor.
So Keith, you're sounding very, very low. I don't know what happened to your volume. I don't know if you're far away from your microphone. You sound
really.
It was low before, and then something happened just now, like you knocked something, and it sounds even worse.
Oh my gosh.
So in the meantime, while you sort that out, let me ask Julian to jump in and tell us what the social stock exchange is all about.
Right. Well, the Social Stock Exchange, the JSSE, is a platform that we launched at the stock exchange a few years back. We listed fully funded about 4 projects, listed about 11 if you look on the website. And it's targeted at non-for-profits. It's targeted as being a platform where non-profits can come, look to raise money. Typically, they bring their donors with them. It creates a very transparent platform for people to receive reporting and have accountability for money that has been raised. So that's what the Social Stock Exchange is. It's being used in a different way for Project Star. So for Project Star, we're actually doing an IPO of social shares. And it's the first in Jamaica, first in the Caribbean, the first that we can really point our finger at. And it's targeted very directly to bring together a very deep pool of investors that typically participate in IPOs. It brings together the deep pool and resources of our broker-dealer community, who are experts in raising funding. And it partners it with the social objectives and a social project, in this case, Project Star. And we expect that it's going to be very successful and a very new and innovative way for funding to be raised for non-profits. It ends up putting a social share in the account, in the JCSD account, of every investor. And with that share, of course, comes all of the reporting that you expect from any listed stock.
So it's basically a donation then?
Correct. So it's a donation, but we do believe, because of the impact, the capital, the human capital that is being impacted by Project Star, that this is, yes, a donation, but it is an investment in human capital. And we do want people to view it as such. Your return won't come in a financial return. It'll come by the transformation that that investment makes. And the reporting, all the KPIs, if you look at the prospectus, you'll see there's a great deal of detail there. And it's intended to be extremely detail-oriented with regard to reporting, with regard to accountability and transparency for every dollar that has been deployed into Project Star. So yes, it's a donation, but we don't want you to donate and forget. Like, a lot of people, may donate at a counter somewhere where you have a hot bowl or, some can there that's raising money for some charity. And you forget about even how much you put in there. And you don't track what the impact of it is. In
True.
this case, we want you to track it. We want everybody to keep very keen eye, extremely keen eye on exactly what the outcome of that investment is. We want investors to be bought in, and we want them to see that with a modest investment, we can, as a collective, transform Jamaica. So
you're able to see exactly what people are doing with the money that you give. Just before I bring in Staffrey, so you're not able to buy and sell these shares then? They're not tradable like on the regular stock exchange? No,
Khalil, not tradable. And there's a very good reason why, right? If you were to have bought a share and then you sold it, it's like you donated and then took your money back, right?
Right.
So we don't want that. The project's ambitious one. It needs that money to stay in, and it needs more money to come in future years. It's a multi-year project. It's an ambitious project, even when it's targeting the initial 10 communities. But based on the data that we've been privy to, we know that there may be about 100 communities in Jamaica that need this sort of targeted intervention. So we want to build from strength to strength, and reporting is going to be a big part of that, for people to understand that that the trajectory of our country and our communities can change, and it can change fairly quickly.
All right. Well, let's hear about the impact that you have been making. So Keith is adjusting his camera. Kiwi was actually saying, can you tell us the name of some of the communities and what you hope to achieve with this funding? And Staffrey, you're in a perfect position to tell us about some of the projects that you've been up to.
Sure. Okay. So STAR is aiming to get in the initial stage 10 communities across Jamaica. We are in 3 communities at the moment. We're in East Downtown, Kingston, which is the communities of Rose Gardens and Parade Gardens. We're in Savannah Lamar, in an area just west of Darling Street. And we are in Maypen, in an area called Havana Heights, Racetrack, and Treadlight. Those are the 3 communities we're in. One of the things about STAR is extremely sort of data-driven and evidence-based. And so we work closely with the JCF and all our partners, alongside Dr. Paris Luai, to really develop a modeling to be able to select communities. And STAR has selected our communities by looking at crime and violence-related injury data, as well as social indicators. So our community selection has a very specific methodology. Within the context of our first community, so East Downtown Kingston, we really started work in East Downtown Kingston in November. So it's really been 7 months of work in East Downtown Kingston. And we're seeing a lot of movement already. One of the things about Project STAR is it is about building out a framework that allows the community to identify what the issues are in that community, and then to develop and deliver the strategies for that community. So what STAR is doing in East Downtown Kingston is going to be different to what STAR does in SAV, is different to what STAR does in Maypen. This is important to make sure that the interventions are specific to what that community requires. So in East Downtown, for example, we worked with the community in doing a series of consultations to identify what we wanted to do as quick wins. Quick wins are really where you start to build trust, the community starts to see things that are happening, and it starts to build community cohesion. And so we did that. We started, for example, with an employment program. It's a misnomer to think that people in communities don't want jobs. People don't have access to jobs. And so what we did is we decided that we would get those who wanted jobs, we would get moving on getting them into jobs straight away. So we partnered with Rise Life Management and Heart to deliver life skills training, job readiness training, really working to get them into jobs and being able to really move a number of our participants into jobs. We've just had over 50 trained in East Downtown. We've just finished our training of our first cohort in SAV of 35. And so we're seeing that is starting to really impact the community, and the community is also starting to recognize those that had lower levels of trust are starting to step forward to come into STAR programs. We've been doing a lot with community planning. A big part of the sustainability of what we're doing has to be that the interventions have to be community-led and community-owned and community-driven. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that in community structures being reestablished. We're seeing that with community activities being community-led. Labor Day, for example, there were 5 community-led activities. They're starting to have their own sporting activities. Within the space of 7 months in East Downtown, there have already been 61 sporting sessions. This is coming from almost 0 to 61 in the space of 7 months. So what you're seeing is you're starting to see a community become alive again, and then become an enabling environment for economic development, for employment, for youth development, improving parenting. We've been doing a lot of work with parenting and so on. So we're really starting to see the impact on people's lives take form, especially in East Downtown, where we've been there the longest. SAV, we've only been there about 3-4 months, and we're in a lot of the community planning phasing, and then Maypen we've just entered.
So to be clear, you basically support existing initiatives in these communities, or you go in there and do your own thing?
So it's a number of approaches. The goal is to make sure that you are creating a sustainable infrastructure. And so part of that has to be that the community structures that exist or that need to exist need to be supported and capacitated to do that, because it's the community that will do for themselves in the long run. And so they can deliver certain programs, like they do their own sporting programs, they do their these sorts of activities. But then you may need to bring in an NGO to do more technical work. We work very closely with the institutions. One of our key objectives under our social pillar is to really strengthen community institutions. So we work with the schools, especially with the local churches for them, and really kind of supporting the work they're doing. But because we are private sector led, we can take the lead on something like the employment program. And so we can drive getting people into jobs. A lot of the programs that have been done in Jamaica in the past in terms of intervention and employment programs have really come from the sort of social development side, but not necessarily from the linking to employers side. And so because of the relationship we have with the private sector, we're really able to drive that connection between the training and the job readiness and the jobs, and also making sure that it's quality jobs and it's jobs that allow people to improve their overall sort of sustainability, allow people to get benefits like health and pension and holiday, and to create that kind of financial stability, which is an important component for development. A job in and of itself is not adequate to reduce the vulnerabilities. You've got to provide these layers of what you call sort of buildings resilience. And all of that is part and parcel of that. And then the family support. So when you look at, one individual that gets a quality job and they have a career path, and they see a path for themselves, you also have a family then that starts to benefit, higher family household income, better attendance at schools for children, better performance at schools. And so it's this whole extreme knock-on. And so this is why the economic pillars that we focus on with STAR are so important in terms of our ability to create a sustained solution.
Right. So guys, think of it like this. It's not your traditional investment. You're not going to get a monetary return immediately. But what you're doing is you're building the entire economy, the entire ecosystem, so that Jamaica's net worth as a whole goes up. And therefore, eventually, your net worth also goes up. Everything becomes more valuable. On that note, let me introduce Juliet Blackwood. She's a member of the Community Transformation Board of Rose Gardens, and she can actually tell us more about the direct impact that Project STAR is having in her community. Hi, Juliet.
Hi. Thank you for inviting me. Well, Project STAR, for me, came at the right time. The community of Rose Gardens, of which I'm a part, we were basically torn through violence, and when Project STAR came on, it was a positive and a timely appearance. They have, as Safia was saying earlier, the job placement. A lot of persons have benefited from employment. We are seeing where they have a lot of ideas and initiatives that are outlined, and Rose Gardens, for one, is benefiting tremendously. What happened is, because of the violence that we were experiencing, persons were not coming out in the community. And so as soon as they came on board, or they came out, persons were out in their numbers. We recently had a sporting event where persons were like, I didn't know that there were so many persons still within the community. Persons are not crossing borders. So Project Star has been a blessing for us. I would say our Labor Day project was supported a lot by Project Star. You know, they provide not just financial assistance, but just being there, providing guidance and stuff to us. So I am actually a part of the member and a part of the community transformation board, where what you have is different members within the community coming together to work along with Project Star to see to the transformation of our community. And these members are basically a cut of the community itself, you know, a member of the church group, member of the school groups, you know, member of the JCF, and member of the community like myself. So for me and the other members of the community, Project Star is really a timely initiative that has come on board, and the work that is to be garnered, and the sustainability also of the project and the implementation of the initiatives is something that I am passionate about, and we will ensure that it continues. So that's it.
Awesome. I love to hear it. Well, let's take some of the comments from our viewers, because there are lots of comments and lots of questions coming in about this project. Akeem says, I like Project Star. I really hope it becomes a success. Marvin says, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Devin says, I like the idea. However, it has to be a public-private partnership. Christopher wants to know what factors influenced using the stock market for donations. Why not do other fundraising events? And Orville wants to know, so what is corporate Jamaica doing in all of this? So let me bring it back to Keith for those last two questions. Why this particular strategy? And well, you are from corporate Jamaica, so I guess
Yes.
there goes that question.
Okay, Kalila, is my sound any better? I hope so.
Yes, much better.
Oh, fabulous. So Kalila, corporate Jamaica has come on board in a significant way. This is a 5-year project. It's a public-private partnership. I saw that question, where the private sector is working along with the government of Jamaica, ministries, departments, and agencies, civil society, working together with the community to develop this community development model to really ensure that we're driving social change in communities and transformation of communities and economic transformation of communities. You cannot have social transformation without economic opportunities, including working with the micro and small businesses within the communities. Now, this is how they work together in a very synergistic way, sporting activities, because we have street side football and football going on in the communities, and basketball and netball, along with school feeding programs in the basic schools. Then you're taking care of the elderly, the senior citizens, by ensuring that they get their social protection, their pension, social pension. You're ensuring that people get formalized. You're ensuring that the micro businesses get formalized. So they're bringing into the mainstream and driving economic activity in these communities, which drives demand in Jamaica. The point you're making, domestic demand. And because you have the money also running into these communities, revenues, because people are earning more and more, people are earning from jobs, revenues are flowing through these communities, and having that multiplier effect of when somebody earns, they come, they spend in their community, they go hairdresser, they go to the corner shop, they go round robin, they have fish fry, they have all kind of commerce develops with a multiplier effect in these communities. So therefore you have the social programs, economic programs, and social protection programs to take care of the vulnerable with these communities. But you can't do this. We're not reinventing the wheel here. We're working with the ministry departments and agencies, Ministry of Education and Youth. They have behavior change programs, right? We're going to be working with the non-governmental organizations as we did with Rise Life in developing this life skill and social skills program for those that we train in the workforce. So how do I function in the workplace? How do I deal with authority? With do I have to go to work from 9 to 5? Yes, you do need to go to work for the entire day, and you can only have lunch at lunchtime.
Your audio is still in and out, though, Keith. Like it goes in waves. So sometimes I'm hearing you well, and then other times it's very low. I don't know what's going on with your device that you're using for some reason. But we do have some more questions. I know you come on Taking Stock. The people on this program, our viewers, are going to ask about numbers and KPIs. So Marvin says, I need a breakdown of the funds, not because it's a social IPO, you raise $100 million. What will it be used for? So specifically, what is the $100 million for?
Okay, so we have the JSSE prospectus that we invite everybody to download, have a look at. It gives a breakdown of the funds. And so these funds are going to be used directly for programming in communities, and it indicates exactly how much funds each year are going to be utilized for some of the psychosocial programming, the football, parenting programs, youth development programs. And so it stipulates exactly what we're allocating the different areas of funding for. I think it's important also to note that one of the really important reasons why STAR is going through the Jamaica Social Stock Exchange is because of the reporting, and not because of the one-time reporting. It is because of the quarterly reporting. Every quarter, anybody who invests will be able to get a report to state exactly how the funds have been spent, exactly what has been achieved. Also in the prospectus are our KPIs. Now we have within the prospectus a number of KPIs that we're tracking for the purpose of the investment. However, STAR has over 50 indicators. We've got 7 short-term outcomes, 3 mid-term outcomes, 1 long-term outcome. And so we report on these key points, and then annually we report on more of the kind of more broken down indicators. And so STAR is really the first opportunity that people who want to contribute to social change have to do so in a way that really, really allows them to track for 5 years, not for 1 year, not for 6 months, but for 5 years, what's happening with that project. And they can take that first report that comes in the first quarter and they can compare it to that report that comes at the end of 5 years, and they can see that change and they can be part of that change over the long term. And this is where STAR is a really exciting opportunity. And it is, our mantra is everybody forward. We do believe that everybody needs to be involved in change in Jamaica. That comes from the perspective of how we deliver the interventions, whether it's private sector, public sector, community, civil society, individuals, but that's also in the funding and making sure that everybody has an opportunity to contribute to investing in a better Jamaica. And so we do get funding, as Keith had mentioned, from private sector and corporate. We're partnering with government to make sure that the communities are accessing the resources they need. We're having initial discussions with multilaterals. We'll be reaching out to the diaspora. It isn't just one way or the highway. It is making sure that everybody in many different ways can be involved in STAR.
So where can we get that prospectus?
It's on the JSSE website. So if you go to the Jamaica Social Stock Exchange website, you'll see the prospectus that gives you all the information, or projectstarja.com. And I also invite everybody, even those who are not ready to invest, to sign up for our mailing list on projectstarja.com, and then you will automatically get the reports and so on and so forth that are coming out of the project.
So Julian, tell us what is the minimum you can invest? Give us the details on how people can participate.
Kalila, I can tell you one or two more things, because you had a few questions there that were unanswered by Keith. So first thing, the question about, or the statement that was made, it has to be a public-private partnership. It is. Second, around what's corporate Jamaica doing about this? Well, the program has been up and running for a year. It had to be funded. Corporate Jamaica has come on very strong and are supporting financially, supporting with goods. One of the things that we'll be very involved in, area you're asking me about, which is around reporting and the ability for people to really go and see transparency on this program. Well, the audits are going to be provided by PwC. They've contributed their professional services. Lunch programs and feeding programs are currently being provided by Musson and by Rainforest. There are other corporates coming on board, in various ways, and we really are warmed by that. So the minimum investment is 500 shares, $500. Therefore, that's $1 share. And just going back to your question, and it's deliberately a very modest amount, and it's a small amount so that we can get as wide a level of participation as possible. So we want James, right? James, who said that's for uptown people, right? Because everybody has to be a part of the change that we need to have in Jamaica. We can't look at politicians, we can't look at social services, we can't look at NGOs, we can't look at the corporate, we can't look at anybody. We have to look at ourselves. Each and everybody in Jamaica needs to be a part of changing the trajectory of the country. That's part of why this program is being marketed as all the way forward. This is all of us together working together to go and create this change. So $500 minimum contribution. We look at the value of contributions, not just in the amount contributed, but it matters, but in the number of heads that actually come in and participate, the number of people that become a part of this change. Not only because it makes it easier to impact communities like we heard from Juliet and Rose Garden, right? But because it impacts each of us who contribute as well, right? The knowledge that a modest investment, a modest contribution to this program can bring about change that you'll have evidence of will of course also be a ray of hope for us that we can direct change in Jamaica if we move very targeted and very deliberately towards it.
I love that response because it also responds to other people like StrongLink who are saying this is mainly for high net worth people. Good initiative though, not necessarily StrongLink.
What's StrongLink talking about?
What's that?
Listen, as I don't understand what StrongLink is saying. Here's the key why we call it time investment. Every single person who invests for a better tomorrow, right? They're hoping for a better tomorrow for themselves, for their families, for their overall security in life. That's a critical component to any investment thesis. This part of your portfolio that is directly targeting social change and impacting Jamaica and impacting crime and impacting the development of human capital, something that we always talk about human capital development as being critical to moving the country forward. Well, guess what? We're doing it. We're not planning to do it. We're doing it. And we think it's something that everybody needs to have a piece of in their portfolio. And we've made sure that the evidence of the position, the contribution will be in your account. The reporting on it will flow through to you. The transparency around it will be absolutely clear, like for all listed companies. That is something not just committed to by Project Star, but it's one of the requirements of the social stock exchange. So we have quite a bit of rigor to ensure that you're going to get the kind of clarity that you would want as an investor, that the company, the initiative that you invested in is doing the type of things to go and create the advancement that you're seeking.
There are a lot of really interesting questions in the chat, lots of curiosity about this. And I also want to ask Juliet about the next project. But first, let me take this question from Elaine. A couple people had this similar concern or question. Elaine wants to know, how will you prevent mismanagement of this fund? We think of corruption when we see these kinds of things. Keith, you want to take that one?
Well, Safri and I know here because the mic wasn't working, right? But we have an extremely robust governance process. Plus, we have an oversight committee that's in place. We have a management and reporting committee co-chaired by Tarun Handa and Ian Neater. We also have PwC as our auditors to do our annual audits. And PwC came on board with a cash contribution and also to ensure that we're audited for full transparency. We report to the public on a quarterly basis like any other publicly listed company. We also have in place reports that we have to report to the JSSC on a monthly basis and on a quarterly basis, evidencing how we disburse funds and how we spend the money, and is it in line with the strategy, with the budget that we have for the communities that we are in, right? Very important, because we also have over 300 million of corporate money that has come to the table in multi-year commitments. And they have come on board because what we are working to do, having achieved macroeconomic stability in our country, we now need to work on investing in our people so that we can move Jamaica forward, because that's our binding constraint. Low wage model, low productivity. We have to invest in our people. We have to bring down crime. And you only can bring down crime if you sustainably, if you invest in the socio-economic development of communities. Then Jamaica will be a more profitable investment destination with lower risk, because crime costs this country 5% of GDP every year. And if we can deal with the root of crime in Jamaica, then we make Jamaica a much more profitable investment destination, higher real estate prices, higher investment valuations. That's what we're doing at the end game. That's the end game. But what you first have to do is deal with your people so that they can have more value-added jobs. The private sector need people. There are jobs there. All we're doing is identifying those individuals that want to work, and we prepare them accordingly. We get them into jobs. We work with the micro and small businesses. We're driving business through these communities. So all valuations are going to improve. In real estate, equity valuations, bond prices, bond yields are going to go down, because you have a much higher rated, because you have dealt with the problem of crime down the road by dealing with the root of crime. And this is going to be a model, a community development model that is franchisable across Jamaica, right? We're working in partnership with the government of Jamaica, with their ministries, departments, and agencies. So we all create this, a whole away approach together, working together, socio-economic development of communities to drive a better, prosperous Jamaica.
All right, so let me ask Juliet then about the next project that's coming up, and then after that we get into details, specifics. How can people invest? So Juliet first, what's the next project coming up?
Okay, so
go ahead.
So in Rose Gardens, before I jump on that, just to add to what Keith said about crime and the cost, it affects us mentally, emotionally, and health-wise as well. Whether you're directly impacted or not, it really does affect us mentally. So the next initiative that Rose Gardens has, that Project Star has partnered with Rose Gardens, is the establishment of a community center with focus on an homework space. The plan is to establish. We already have the space, and now we are in the process of equipping it with the necessary equipment, computers, desks, and stuff, because we want to focus on the younger youths, those prep age and below. That's our main target, but we're not excluding anyone. And so we really are in the process of establishing this homework center, but it is a full community space. So it doesn't matter where in Rose Gardens you're from. We want to invite members from all over the community to come. Because of the war infractions that we have experienced, there tend to be a divide. But this center, I honestly believe, with the impact and the presence of Project Star within the community, we will have something that is up and running. And the homework center, the community space, is supposed to take the shape of a small green space, as well as an area where adults, where teens, where people can just sit and relax and just be present within the community. And then you have that space where we will host the homework classes or revision classes for the students. However, that space is supposed to be available to any community member who would like to use the space. So it's not excluding anyone. So if you're having a meeting, you can use the space. If you just want to have a discussion, you can have the space, because we are planning to have different programs and different initiatives where persons can come out and speak and just share ideas. It's not just about just giving money. We want persons to come on board and be present, share your knowledge, share what it is that you have to offer. Even, we want to invite the PATH group, the NIS, those persons who might not be able to or not know how to go and get some of these benefits that are available to us. We are in the process of ensuring that we educate and advise the members of the community how to move forward in terms of achieving what it is that they can and what is available to them. So we're in the process of establishing this community center, have a free Wi-Fi space. And I think Wi-Fi, having the internet access, will bring persons out, because we want to take back our space. We're not leaving it for the persons who want to just commit crimes and havoc. No, we want to take back our space. And I think once we are doing that, and once they see us out there, they will, participate or just. So that is it. And I'm thankful to Project Star and all that is being done.
Yes. Well, we have a couple people already saying that they're ready to invest. Elaine says, I can afford to give up 10K. Cash says, can't say I never try. And then Marvin as well, I will definitely drop a 10K after reading the prospectus, of course. So give us the details on how we can invest in this project.
So that's one of the beautiful things about doing the IPO route. We've been so blessed by the support of the broker-dealer community through the Jamaica Security Dealers Association, giving us endorsement and bringing their entire community to support this initiative. So through your broker that you would typically do any investment in stock, you can access Project Star. So on board already as co-brokers, we have Barita Investments, we have FHC Investments, we have Grace Kennedy, GK Capital, we have JN Fund Managers, we have Mayberry Investments, we have NCB Capital Markets, we have Proven Wealth, we have Sagicor Investments, VM Wealth Management, JMB Securities Limited. So we have almost the entire market covered, and we're extremely happy about that. So the conduit to investing in social shares is straight through your regular broker dealer. If you use an online platform to typically participate in an IPO, you'll do it the exact same way. There'll be no difference. You'll see evidence of ownership of the shares in your JCSD account. In this IPO, of course, there's one part that will be quite different than other IPOs. There won't be a scenario where, we'll be talking about an allocation methodology and we'll be sending back contributions. The program is a multi-year program. Excess contributions for year one needs flow directly into year two. They sit in an undisbursed form until those actual initiatives are identified and earmarked, and then it will be released. So, feel free to contribute far more than you're thinking would be required for year one. I think the contributions that we've heard thus far, those are massive, I must tell you. I know it looks modest, but it's a massive vote of confidence, and we do want to see it. We do have this, easy, simple math, right? 10,000 investors at $10,000 gets us $100 million.
Yes,
And
yes, we can do it.
We can
absolutely do
when
it.
we
Thank
do,
you
when
so
we do
much.
big IPOs out there, we're talking 40,000 new investors in there. Can we get 10,000? It's a meaningful amount of the investor base of that participates in shares typically, but it's not the majority of them. It requires a reasonable participation with a reasonable amount of money, and we're going to hit that target and we're going to exceed it. This is an exciting program, and it's one that we really do want our parties to be a part of. Can't say we never try. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. So guys, go to projectstarja.com to download the prospectus, track the performance, and when you start seeing those quarterly reports and being impressed, you can even decide to contribute more. So it will stay open, right? So even after IPO, you can still continue to invest. Yes.
Sure, we'll have to have periodic fundraisers. So we will be coming back, much in the same way that you'd have an APO. We'll be coming back to the market with additional issuances of social shares for Project Star. We know that the market will get a chance to see the reporting, understand what their investment would have done, what the performance would have looked like, and therefore be able to get a chance to assess if they want to do more. So yeah, but we'll be open from Thursday. We'll open and we'll stay open until targeting mid-August, and looking to close then. And then again, of course, we'll be making the public very aware of when we're coming back again with any other stuff.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So let me close out with a few comments from the viewers. Ayrton says, everyone here can invest at least 1,000 JMD towards the betterment of the country. Even the most skeptical person can do that. Aline says, if the program works out, I will contribute always. And then D says, to the person who said that this won't reduce crime, you know what a self-fulfilling prophecy is? I suggest being optimistic. Pessimism doesn't reduce crime. So thanks again, everyone. And we're going to hit that mark, $100 million for Project Star, the first social IPO. Thanks, Julian, Safri. Who else we have? Keith and Juliet.